Thank you very much. Welcome back to this one aristocratic channel of ours. And this is MATRIC+NATED Specialist. Ensure that you are not leaving behind by not subscribing to this channel, and ensure that you are not leaving behind by joining our membership card, where our videos, they are there, the latest one, and all the relevant of the question papers, the notes, and everything that you are going to need. Grade 11s, you are close to my heart, and this is a geography grade 11 paper 1. It will be vital, and this was 2024. And then in this question paper, we are going to revise now, refer back in regards to going to get 3 questions that you need to answer. And one of the question section A, we talk of the atmosphere and the geomorphology. And then we are going to look at question 1, whereby we are talking about the atmosphere. And then here we are given the statement to say, and then in column A 1.1.1, the angle of the Earth axis as the Earth revolves is a number Z, which is parallelism, and then it is parallel when it is moving on. And then in 1.1.2, the movement of the Earth around the Sun, that is called the revolution, which it can be in Y represented. And then an incoming solar radiation, it is called the insolation, even in one biological term, is there. And then in 1.1.4, the path that the Earth travels around the Sun, it is called the orbit. That is where the Earth travels around the Sun. And then the radiation from the Earth, it is called the terrestrial radiation. Refer back to the concept that is given. And then in 1.1.6, the Sun on the 21st November, that process will result at solstice. And then in 1.1.7, when neither the hemisphere, the southern hemisphere in this instance, and the northern hemisphere is tilted, it is not moved. Remember, the tilted, it talks about the slight angle in terms of how the Earth it is structured. And then we are saying towards or away the Sun, it is called the equinox. And then we are saying in 1.1.8, the line between the light and the dark half of the Earth, it is called the circle of illumination. That is an 8 marks. All right. And if we can zoom properly here, we can see we are given the structure of the Earth, and you can see that number 1 here, the Earth here, it is an idealized Earth, and then here, this is an actual Earth. This is an idea, and then this is an actual containing the feral cells and all, ensuring that there is a circular air circulation. All right. And then the question says in 1.2.1, at what latitude is the polar front found? So it is in 60 north and south. So how do we see that? We go to the polar front, and then we can see that is the polar. Here it is the polar situated, and it is between this angle of 60 degrees. There is 60 degrees there. This is 60 degrees. So we can see. And then when we are moving on again, they say now here, name the surface that make up the feral cell. That is the west lies. West lies. The west lies here. They make that to happen, and there it is the west lies there in the horizon. That is the west lies. And then in the idealized, there it is west lies. Then where's the feral cell? This is the feral cell. And this is the feral cell. That is the west lies. All right. And then if we are moving on again to the other question content, we can see that we are going to move again to 1.2.3. What is the name of the pressure belt found along the equator? Remember, because of it is found in the equator, it is called the equatorial low pressure belt, which is in the system there. And then in 1.2.4, the subpolar low pressure is created by what type of the air movement? It is created by the convergence air movement, circulation, the convergence air movement, circulation. Remember that this is the convergence air circulation. The air circulation will move to clockwise the air circulation. All right. And then if ever we are moving on again, we are saying in 1.2.5, name the healthy cell, and then we are saying that is the tropical islayas or the trade winds. How can we see that? We go where there is healthy cell, and then we can see the healthy cell here. It is the healthy cell they are found there, and then we are saying this is the north trade winds or the tropical islayas. That is why we are giving that is given. All right, and then in 1.2.6 here, we are seeing that there is question. The polar cell is found between each latitude, which is 60 and 90 in north and south. That one is given. And then in 1.2.7, name the pressure belt created by the upper descending air that converges from the Hadley cells and the Ferrel cell. That is the subtropical high pressure belt. And then you get your 7 marks. Okay. And then if ever we are moving on, we can see that here we are given to say study the image below and answer the question that follow. Here we've got the high pressure. We can see that the Coriolis force, it is created due to the experiment of two high pressure and the low pressure that creates the Coriolis force or the Coriolis wind. Okay. And if ever we are moving on again, we can see that we've got a question now in 1.3.1. Define the concept, the atmospheric pressure. We are going to say this is the weight that the atmosphere exerts on the surface of the earth. You get your 2 marks. 1.3, now 0.2. We are given a question. The Coriolis force causes deflection of the winds on the planet. State the direction that the winds are deflected in the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere. So remember that the northern hemisphere, it is now here, and the southern hemisphere, this is where we are experiencing low pressure. Okay, and then we are saying in southern hemispheres, left. In northern hemisphere, they are going to the right hand side, and in the southern hemisphere, they are going to this side, so that it creates the air circulation. And then we are saying in 1.3.3, explain how the Coriolis force compares in strength between the equator at the poles. And then the Coriolis force is strong at the poles, and it is very, very weak at the other instinct. So it is very, very weak at the equator. You get your 2 marks. And in 1.3.4, identify the force F and describe its impact of the movement of a wind. So we are going to say that the force F is a pressure gradient force. It causes the winds to blow from the high pressure to the low pressure. So from the high pressure to the low pressure, that is F there. So where is F? This is F that we are talking about. It blows wind from the high pressure, which is this particular direction that we are talking about, and in the low pressure, which is this direction that we are talking now. All right. And then if we are moving on again, we are seeing that we are hitting 3.5. Okay. And it says, explain the formation of the wind G at point E. Wind is G, it is at point E. The wind is G, and then it is at point E. This is the wind that we are talking about of the Coriolis force. It is at G here, at this point, which is at E. So can you see that particular wind that we are talking about? And then how does that form? All right, we are saying that the PGF indicates the movement of the wind from the high to the low pressure cell. Remember that about the movement, I will show you right now. Okay. Remember that the movement, it is now moving to the clockwise direction. And then number 2, the Coriolis force deflects winds from the original path. The PGF and Coriolis force, they reach the equilibrium state. This results in the wind blowing parallel to the isobars in the upper atmosphere. So this is what we must see here, basically on our structure. So they are talking about now this formation now of wind, which will deflect from the high pressure going to the low pressure. Again, it is redeflected from the low pressure again to the high pressure, causing the side. And then I hope that one is very, very clear. Remember that when you are still watching previous modules, and ensure that you are also keeping your fair classmates in this content you are sharing also on our social media. We are now in 1.4. And then in 1.4, we can see that the study of the infographic below, it consider each pieces of information to answer the question. All right. So here we are talking about the El Nino and the La Nina. Remember that we are going now to move to what we are supposed to be doing. All right. All right, and then we can see that here we are anticipating the strong effect of the El Nino. Remember that you must also revise the La Nina. And then we are saying that conditions in Malawi and Zimbabwe. So in South Africa, because of these are two neighboring countries. The negative for rainy season, including low labor opportunities, and high recent improvements that are declining due to inflation. And one of the key concepts that you must understand, this is the general increasing prices and decreasing purchasing in the power of money. You find that products, they cost more, while the people don't have the job and they are earning less, some of them. Meanwhile, other hazards in regions are also contributing to food assistance needs, including the conflict in the Democratic of Congo, DRC, and Mozambique. And when this is happening, it is having the negative now aspect in the population of South Africa and globally. Overall, it is estimated that over 20 million people will be in need of food assistance during January to season, and that is food insecurity. When people or a country cannot afford the basic needs, that is now poverty. So we need to ensure that we run away from poverty. So according to this, it is a South African agricultural employment. So how are people employed based on now as years are going? We can see that there was a decline, but at least now there is a bit of an increase and a sense of hope. And then in 1.4, we are given a question, define the term drought. So we are saying that is a period of drier condition which result in a low rainfall that are normal. You get your 2 marks. 1.4.2. According to the article, Southern African faces challenges due to drought. Name one country in the Zimbabwe, DRC, you get your mark. 1.4.3, state A, B in the image that represent El Nino. B, it is an El Nino. They're based on the sketch when I showed you. And then in 1.4.4, give one other name for the trade winds. It is called the tropical east lice. All right, everywhere. All right. And then if we are moving on again, we have to see that we are having some other question in 1.1, in 1.4.4, it says estimate raising whether will decrease or increase in 2023. We are going to say it decreases due to the loss that is made in the agricultural sectors. And then we are saying people might lose their job, or it will increase because of the graph on the SA agricultural employments shows a peak up to 2024. Then you get your mark according to the graph that I show you. In 1.4.5, they say, quote, two negative impacts of the El Nino in South Africa in the economy. We have read that in the article, there's low labor opportunities and high food prices, which will be caused by the inflation, the general increase in prices, and the decreased purchasing in the power of money. In 1.4.6, the question says, discuss strategies that can be implemented to reduce the impact of the El Nino phenomenon. And then we are saying that it is a monitoring of the weather conditions, store water in the dams of the reservoirs in dry conditions so that you can access, and then plant drought-resistant crops that need less water wisely. Use gray water irrigation, and strict regulation on water usage can be used to avoid that. Okay? All right. And then when we are moving on again, we have to see that we are having this chart whereby they are saying refer to a synoptic weather map below and answer the question that follows. All right. So in 5.1, we are given to say name the pressure system on the west to South Africa. That is South Atlantic High. the South Atlantic High. It is now in the Southern Africa, and then that is a high pressure. Explain how the high pressure system identified in question 1.5.1 affects the weather of South Africa. It brings cold and dry weather conditions. Because of it is a high pressure. High pressure, it is associated with the dry conditions. In 1.5.3, compare the wind strength between the line D and E and the line G and F in respect to the spacing of the isobar. So we check D and E. So there is D to E. So we are saying in high pressure D and in this E. So the question, it says the isobars, these are the isobars, they join now equal pressure. These are the isobars, 3 isobars. So they said we must convert it to G and F. There is G, and then there is F, and then these ones are the isobars in relation to numbers now that is given. Right. So we are saying that in D and E, there is weak winds or low pressure, gentle pressure gradient. In G and F, there is strong winds or fast wind, steep pressure and the gradient. There is a steep pressure and the gradient because of the what of the isobars per hectopass here. And then it is very, very steep. They are equal to one now another, creating the effective weather condition. Okay, question. It says in paragraph, not more than 8 lines, explain the weather experienced in Durban on the weather station B. So we need to go back to now the weather station at B at Durban. So this is number B, and it is at Durban. One of the characteristics, we can see that there is high temperature, which is 35 degrees Celsius, the dew point temperature, which is 3 degrees Celsius, and the overcasting here, we can see that is very clear, and it's a low pressure, so it is very high. And then we can say that the air temperature is 35, it is the high temperature. The cloud cover is clear, there's no cloud, I've shown you. The precipitation is there's no precipitation. The wind speed is 10 knots, and the wind direction is south westerly. The dew point temperature is 3, and then you need to explain that. So one aspect that I've missed is the wind speed and the wind direction. So this is the wind here, speed westerly. So you need to ensure that you understand those aspects in that. Okay, and then I want us to move on again to what we are supposed. All right, and then this is what you must on again. You can see that we've got questions where this is geomorphology. And then we are saying, we are giving a question to say, choose the correct words from the brackets, and then give the correct now, which is included there. We cannot be doing now. All right, this is the question. Refer to the sketch on the from the sketch, only the learn form next to the question number. These are the concepts